The iron gates of the Crimson Court were 14 feet tall, wrought with ravens and roses, separating the Vampire King's Manhattan estate from the human world by more than just metal. They represented power, immortality, and a barrier that desperate people threw themselves against every night, begging for mercy that never came. Tonight, Celeste was one of them. Her hands gripped the freezing bars, her pregnant belly pressed against the gate's ornate curves, and her voice cracked as she screamed into the darkness beyond. "Please? I know you can hear me. I'm begging you, take me as your second mate. I'll do anything. Just please, please save my baby." Rain soaked through her threadbare coat, the only thing she owned besides the clothes on her back and the life growing inside her. 8 months pregnant, homeless for 3 weeks, and running from vampire hunters who wanted her baby dead before it could draw its first breath. She had nowhere else to go. No one else to turn to. The Vampire King of New York was her last hope. "Please?" Tears mixed with rain on her face. "I know the old laws. You can take a second mate if she's in mortal danger. I'm in mortal danger. They're coming for me, they'll be here by dawn, please." Silence answered her. The mansion beyond the gates blazed with light, a massive Gothic revival estate that had stood in Upper Manhattan since the 1880s, now worth hundreds of millions, home to the most powerful vampire on the East Coast. And she was nothing. A 24-year-old former art student who'd made one terrible mistake and now carried the consequences beneath her heart. Celeste's knees buckled. She slid down the gate, her hand still clutching the bars, her forehead pressing against cold metal. This was it. She'd tried. She'd begged. And she'd failed. By sunrise, the hunters would find her, and her baby, her precious, impossible baby, would die before ever seeing the world. "I'm sorry," she whispered to her stomach, to the life that kicked gently against her ribs. "I'm so sorry I couldn't save you. Why should he take you?" The voice came from directly in front of her, a woman's voice, cultured and curious. Celeste's head snapped up to find someone standing on the other side of the gate, someone who definitely hadn't been there seconds ago. She was breathtaking. Tall and elegant in a midnight blue evening gown that probably cost more than Celeste had earned in her entire life, with dark hair cascading over her shoulders and eyes that glowed subtle crimson in the darkness. The first wife. The Vampire Queen of New York. Isabella Thorne, who'd been mated to King Nathan Thorne for over a century. Celeste's voice failed her. She tried again. "I need protection. The baby needs protection. The old laws say." "I know what the old laws say." Isabella moved closer to the gate, studying Celeste with unnerving intensity. A vampire king may take a second mate if she faces mortal danger that only he can prevent, and if the first mate consents. So tell me, why would I consent to my husband taking a pregnant homeless stranger as his second mate? What's in it for me? The cruel practicality of the question nearly broke Celeste. Nothing. There's nothing in it for you. I have nothing to offer except servitude and gratitude and a promise that I'll never, ever try to come between you and him. I just need sanctuary until the baby's born. After that, you can throw me back out on the streets if you want. I don't care what happens to me. But my baby," her voice cracked. "My baby deserves a chance to live. Why do hunters want your baby dead?" Celeste hesitated. This was the truth that could either save her or doom her. Because the father was a vampire. A rogue vampire who didn't tell me what he was until after it was too late. When his coven found out he'd gotten a human pregnant, they killed him. And now they're hunting me because hybrid babies are illegal. Abominations, they called my child. An abomination that needs to be destroyed. Isabella's expression shifted, something flickered in those crimson eyes. Not disgusted. Something else. A hybrid. You're carrying a hybrid child. Yes. Celeste's hand moved protectively over her stomach. I know what that means. I know most hybrid pregnancies don't survive, that the babies are often born sick or wrong but mine is strong. She kicks and moves and I swear she responds when I sing to her. She deserves a chance. Please. I'm not asking for forever. Just sanctuary until she's born. Just a chance for her to live. For a long moment, Isabella just stared at her. Then she did something that shocked Celeste to her core. She smiled. Not a cruel smile. Not a mocking smile. A real, genuine smile that transformed her face from intimidating to almost warm. A hybrid daughter, Isabella murmured. Then, louder, calling over her shoulder, Nathan. Come to the gate. Now. Footsteps approached, heavier, masculine, radiating power even before he appeared. Vampire King Nathan Thorne was everything rumors claimed, tall, commanding, with steel-grey eyes that had witnessed 2 centuries of history and a presence that made even other vampires kneel. He wore an expensive charcoal suit-like armor, his dark hair silvered at the temples in a way that made him look distinguished rather than old. He took one look at Celeste, collapsed at his gate, and his expression hardened. Isabella, what's? She's asking to be your second mate, Isabella interrupted. She's 8 months pregnant with a hybrid daughter. Vampire hunters are tracking her. She has nowhere else to go. And Nathan, Isabella's hand found her husband's arm, her voice dropping to something achingly sad. She's asking us to save a baby girl that we couldn't save ourselves. The air went electric with tension. Nathan's eyes locked onto Celeste, then dropped to her pregnant belly, and something in his face cracked. Just for a second. Just enough for Celeste to see the raw wound that had never healed. Isabella, he said quietly. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. Isabella turned to face him fully. We lost our daughter 200 years ago. We've spent 2 centuries mourning her, wishing we could have saved her. And now here's a chance, a human woman carrying a hybrid baby girl who will die without our protection. Nathan, I know what the court will say. I know the scandal this will cause. But I don't care. We were given a second chance to save a daughter. I won't waste it. Nathan stared at his wife, and Celeste watched 2 centuries of partnership pass between them in a glance. Love. Trust. Shared grief transformed into shared purpose. Then Nathan turned to Celeste, and when he spoke, his voice carried the weight of absolute authority. What's your name? See Celeste. Celeste Morrison. Celeste Morrison, I am Nathan Thorne, Vampire King of the Eastern Territories. Under the ancient laws, I offer you sanctuary as my second mate. You and your child will be protected under my power, my name, and my blood. You will live in my home, eat at my table, and be defended with my life. In exchange, you will honor the mate bond, cause no harm to my household, and raise your daughter with love and wisdom. Do you accept these terms? Celeste could barely breathe. Yes. God, yes, I accept. Then by the old laws and the power vested in me, I claim you as a second mate and your daughter as my ward. He looked at Isabella. Open the gates. Isabella pulled a key from somewhere in her dress and unlocked the massive gates. They swung open silently on well-oiled hinges, and for the first time in 3 weeks, Celeste passed from danger into safety. Nathan moved forward and, before she could protest, swept her into his arms like she weighed nothing. You're freezing and exhausted. Isabella, call Dr. Chen. Tell her we have a pregnant hybrid mother who needs immediate medical attention. Already texting her, Isabella said, her phone in hand as she walked beside them toward the mansion. Celeste, when's the last time you ate? Yesterday. Maybe. I don't remember. We'll fix that. Isabella's voice was firm. You're under our protection now. That means you get fed, clothed, sheltered, and cared for. No arguments. As Nathan carried her up the mansion steps and into warmth and light and safety for the first time in weeks, Celeste started crying. Really crying. Not silent tears but loud, ugly, grateful sobs that she couldn't control. "Thank you," she gasped between sobs. Thank you, I can't, I don't know how to." "Hush." Isabella's hand touched her shoulder gently. "You don't need to thank us. We're the ones who should thank you for giving us a second chance." And as they carried her deeper into the mansion, past elegant rooms and priceless art and evidence of a life she'd only dreamed of, Celeste realized something. She'd expected the first wife to hate her, to resent her, to see her as a threat. Instead, Isabella looked at her pregnant belly like she was seeing something precious. Something sacred. Something worth protecting at any cost. The Vampire Queen's reaction hadn't been anger. It had been hope. If you're ready for a story about impossible choices and unexpected compassion, hit that subscribe button right now, because what the Vampire Queen does when her husband brings home a pregnant stranger will absolutely blow your mind. Now, let's dive into the night that changed everything. The bedroom they gave Celeste was larger than any apartment she'd ever lived in. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park, now dark and mysterious under the night sky. A four-poster bed dominated the space, piled with pillows and blankets that looked like clouds. An attached bathroom featured a tub big enough to swim in. And everywhere, on the dresser, the nightstand, the window seat, were fresh flowers. "This is too much," Celeste whispered as Isabella guided her inside. "This is the guest suite in the family wing," Isabella corrected. "As Nathan's second mate, you're family now. This is where you belong." She moved to a wardrobe and opened it, revealing racks of clothing. "I had some things brought up while Nathan was carrying you. We're similar in build, or we were, before you got pregnant. These should work for now. Tomorrow we'll get you properly fitted." Celeste touched a silk robe hanging in the wardrobe. The fabric felt like water under her fingers. "I don't understand. Why are you being so kind? Most first wives would want me dead." Isabella's expression shifted, pain and memory flickering across her features. She sat on the edge of the bed, gesturing for Celeste to join her. "Do you want the short version or the truth?" "The truth. Please." 203 years ago, I was pregnant." Isabella's voice was steady but her hands trembled slightly. "Nathan and I had been mated for 50 years, and we'd tried for decades to conceive. Vampire fertility is extremely rare, especially between two-turned vampires. So when I finally became pregnant, it was a miracle. We were going to have a daughter. We'd already named her Lily Rose." Celeste's throat tightened. She remembered that name was on the forbidden list, now she understood why. "I was 7 months along when the hunters found us," Isabella continued. "Back then, vampire-human relations were even worse than now. There were organized hunter guilds, churches that preached our extermination, entire towns that would burn any building suspected of housing vampires. Nathan was already powerful, already building his territory, and they saw our baby as a future threat. So they attacked." "Oh God," Celeste breathed. "Nathan fought them off, but not before they got to me. Silver bullets, 3 of them. They were aiming for my heart but hit my stomach instead. I survived. Lily didn't." Isabella's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "I carried her for another 2 weeks before my body finally let her go. We buried her in the garden. There's a rose bush there that blooms black roses every spring. Nathan planted it the day after we lost her. I'm so sorry. For 2 centuries, that grief has defined us. Nathan became harder, more ruthless, building an empire so strong that no hunter would ever threaten our family again. I became colder, more distant, focusing on court politics and power because if I stopped moving, I'd have to feel the loss." Isabella finally looked at Celeste directly. And then tonight, you appeared at our gates. Pregnant. Desperate. Carrying a hybrid daughter that the world wants dead. And I realized this is why we survived. This is why we built all this power and safety. Not for ourselves. For her. For the daughter we can finally save, even if she's not the one we lost. Celeste's hand moved to her belly. You're doing this for your daughter. I'm doing this for all of us. You get safety. Your daughter gets life. And Nathan and I get a chance at redemption. At healing. Finally using our pain for something good instead of just survival. Isabella smiled, and it was genuine. So no, I don't resent you. I'm grateful to you. You're giving us something precious, a second chance. A knock at the door interrupted them. A middle-aged Asian woman entered, carrying a medical bag. Your Majesty, I came as quickly as I could. This is the patient. Dr. Chen, this is Celeste, Nathan's second mate. She's 8 months pregnant with a hybrid, hasn't eaten properly in weeks, and has been living on the streets. I need a full examination. Isabella stood, moving aside to give the doctor room. Dr. Chen's expression remained professionally neutral, but her eyes widened slightly at hybrid. Understood. Celeste, I'm going to need to examine you and the baby. Is that all right? Yes. Please. I need to know if she's okay. The examination was thorough and surprisingly gentle. Dr. Chen listened to the baby's heartbeat with a special stethoscope, measured Celeste's belly, checked her vitals, and asked detailed questions about her pregnancy. Through it all, Isabella stayed, watching with an intensity that would have been unnerving if Celeste didn't understand its source. Finally, Dr. Chen sat back, her expression carefully neutral. The good news is that both you and the baby are remarkably healthy, given your circumstances. Your daughter's heartbeat is strong, her positioning is good, and based on my measurements, she's developing normally for a hybrid pregnancy. And the bad news? Celeste asked, because there was always bad news. Hybrid births are unpredictable. The baby will be stronger than a human infant but not as durable as a full vampire. The labor could be normal or it could be complicated, there's no way to predict. And after birth? Dr. Chen hesitated. Hybrid babies need both human milk and small amounts of blood to thrive. Without both, they become sick. Many don't survive the first month because their human mothers can't provide the blood component. I'll provide it, Isabella said immediately. Whatever she needs, I'll make sure she has it. Dr. Chen nodded. That should work. With proper care and resources, which you clearly have here, this baby has an excellent chance of survival. Better than most hybrids born in less supportive circumstances. Relief crashed over Celeste so powerfully she started shaking. She's going to be okay. My baby's going to be okay. Not just okay, Isabella said firmly. She's going to thrive. I promise you that, Celeste. Your daughter will want for nothing. Dr. Chen prescribed prenatal vitamins, a high-protein diet, and bed rest for the next few days to help Celeste recover from weeks of stress and malnutrition. After she left, a servant arrived with a tray of food, soup, bread, fruit, and tea that smelled like heaven. Celeste ate like she was starving, because she was. Isabella watched with satisfaction, occasionally adding items to the tray from her own plate. Tell me about the father, Isabella said quietly. If you're comfortable. Celeste swallowed a mouthful of bread. His name was Ryan. I met him at a gallery opening in Brooklyn. I was an art student at NYU. He said he was a collector. He was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in my work. We started dating. For 3 months, everything was normal. Perfect, even. And then, he told you what he was. He showed me. We were at his apartment and he got cut, just a small kitchen accident, and the cut healed instantly. just sealed up like it never happened. I thought I was hallucinating, but he sat me down and explained everything. Vampire. Turned in the 1950s. Rogue, meaning he didn't belong to any official vampire court. He'd been hiding what he was because he knew I'd run if I knew the truth. But you didn't run, Isabella observed. No. I was shocked, but I loved him. And he promised he'd never hurt me, that he'd never feed me without permission, that we could make it work. Celeste's voice grew bitter. He never mentioned that vampire-human relationships were complicated. Or that pregnancy was supposed to be impossible. Or that his coven would see me as a threat. What happened to him? His coven found out I was pregnant. They gave him an ultimatum, kill me and the baby, or they'd kill all three of us. Ryan tried to fight them. Tried to protect me. They killed him in front of me, then told me I had 48 hours to take care of the problem or they'd come back and finish the job. Tears streamed down Celeste's face. That was 3 weeks ago. I've been running ever since. Sleeping in shelters when I could, hiding in subway stations, moving every night because I knew they were tracking me. And tonight I was out of options. Your gates were my last hope. Isabella's hand covered Celeste's. You're safe now. Ryan's coven has no power here. This is Nathan's territory, and he's the strongest vampire king in North America. No rogue coven would dare challenge him. But the scandal, won't this cause problems for you? Taking in a pregnant human as a second mate. Oh, it will cause enormous problems, Isabella said cheerfully. The court will be scandalized. Other vampire kings will question Nathan's judgment. Conservative factions will demand we follow tradition and reject you. It's going to be a political nightmare. Then why? Because some things are more important than politics. Some things are worth fighting for. Isabella's crimson eyes blazed with conviction. Your daughter is worth fighting for. You're worth fighting for. And maybe, after 2 centuries of playing it safe and protecting our grief, Nathan and I need something worth fighting for again. A heavier footstep approached the door. Nathan entered, his jacket removed, his tie loosened, the most casual Celeste had seen him. How is she? Dr. Chen says both mother and baby are healthy. They need rest, nutrition, and time to recover, but they're going to be fine. Isabella stood, moving to her husband's side. We're going to have a daughter in the house, Nathan. A real, living, breathing daughter. Something in Nathan's expression cracked, raw emotion breaking through centuries of control. He moved to the bed, kneeling beside it so he was at Celeste's eye level. I want you to understand something. When I claimed you as a second mate, I didn't do it out of pity or obligation. I did it because Isabella was right, we were given a second chance. Your daughter will be protected with every resource I have, every alliance I've built, every ounce of power I've accumulated over 2 centuries. Nothing will harm her. I swear it in my honor and my blood. Thank you, Celeste whispered. Both of you. I don't know how I'll ever repay. You already have, Nathan interrupted gently. You gave us hope. That's worth more than any treasure. He stood, offering his hand to Isabella. Come. Let her rest. Tomorrow the court will hear about this, and we'll need to prepare. Isabella paused at the door. Celeste? If you need anything at all, there's a button by the bed. Press it and someone will come immediately. You're not alone anymore. Remember that. They left, and Celeste was alone in a room bigger than any space she'd occupied in months, surrounded by luxury she'd never dreamed of possessing, carrying a baby that 2 ancient vampires had just sworn to protect with their lives. She should have been terrified. This was insane. She'd just become the second mate to a vampire king, inserted herself into a marriage that had lasted over a century, and placed her daughter's fate in the hands of creatures she barely understood. But she wasn't terrified. For the first time in 3 weeks, since Ryan's death, since the running began, since hope started dying, she felt safe. She placed both hands on her belly, feeling her daughter kick in response. "We made it, baby girl. We actually made it. You're going to be born safe and loved and protected. I promise." Her daughter kicked again, stronger this time, and Celeste chose to believe it was an agreement. Celeste woke to sunlight streaming through windows and the smell of fresh coffee. For a disoriented moment, she thought she was back in her old apartment, before Ryan's death, before everything fell apart. Then she saw the room, massive, elegant, expensive, and remembered. She was in the Vampire King's mansion. As his second mate. Carrying a hybrid baby that a vampire queen wanted to save. A soft knock preceded a young woman entering with a breakfast tray. "Good morning, Miss Morrison. I'm Hannah, one of the day staff. Her Majesty Isabella asked me to bring you breakfast and help you dress. The court convenes at sunset, and you'll need to be presented formally." Presented? Celeste struggled to sit up, her pregnant belly making the movement awkward. As the king's second mate, you need to be formally introduced to the vampire court. It's tradition and politics. Hannah set the tray across Celeste's lap, then moved to the wardrobe. "Don't worry, their majesties will handle the difficult parts. You just need to look composed and let the king do the talking." The breakfast was elaborate: eggs, toast, fruit, yogurt, orange juice, and that heavenly-smelling coffee. Celeste ate while Hannah explained what would happen. The vampire court meets every month to discuss territory business, settle disputes, and address important matters. Tonight's meeting was already scheduled, but word's gotten out about you. Every vampire noble in the territory will be there, plus representatives from neighboring territories. It's going to be intense. Intense how? Well, second mates are extremely rare. The last time a vampire king took a second mate was over 400 years ago, and that was because his first mate was dying and needed someone to help care for their children. Taking a pregnant human stranger as a second mate? That's unprecedented. Some vampires will see it as romantic and noble. Others will see it as scandalous and dangerous. And everyone will have an opinion. Hannah pulled out a dress, deep emerald green, empire waist to accommodate Celeste's pregnancy, made of fabric so fine it seemed to shimmer. Her Majesty had this made overnight. She said green would complement your coloring and show strength without aggression. Before we see what happens when Celeste faces the vampire court, I want to ask you, if you were in her position, would you have the courage to stand before hundreds of vampires who might want you gone? Drop your answer in the comments, I read every single one. Now, let's witness the moment that changes everything. The rest of the day passed in preparation. Hannah helped Celeste bathe, dress, and arranged her blonde hair into an elegant updo. Makeup artists arrived to give her a natural but glowing look. A jeweler brought a collection of pieces, ultimately selecting a simple gold necklace with an emerald pendant that matched the dress. "You look beautiful," Hannah said finally, stepping back to admire her work. "Like you belong here." Celeste stared at her reflection. The woman in the mirror looked nothing like the homeless, desperate creature who'd begged at the gates last night. This woman looked composed, elegant, almost regal. But underneath the dress and makeup, she was still just Celeste Morrison, art student, carrying a baby she barely knew how to protect. "I don't belong here," she whispered. "Maybe not yet," Hannah said kindly. "But you will. Give it time." As sunset approached, Isabella came to collect her. The vampire queen wore a stunning black gown with silver embroidery, her dark hair swept up to reveal a diamond choker. She looked every inch the powerful ancient vampire she was. "You look lovely," Isabella said approvingly. "How are you feeling?" "Terrified." "Good. That means you're paying attention." Isabella's smile was wry. The court can smell fear, but they respect honesty. Don't try to hide your nerves, own them. You're a pregnant human in a room full of predators. Anyone who judges you for being afraid is an idiot. That's actually helpful. I've been doing this for 2 centuries. I've learned a few things. Isabella offered her arm. Come. Nathan's waiting, and we need to make an entrance. They descended the grand staircase together, and Celeste's breath caught. The mansion's main ballroom had been transformed into a court chamber. Over 200 vampires filled the space, all dressed formally, all with those subtle crimson eyes that marked their nature. The air practically vibrated with power. At the far end, on a raised platform, sat 2 thrones. Nathan occupied the larger one, dressed in an immaculate black suit that made him look like death and royalty combined. The smaller throne beside him, traditionally Isabella's, sat empty. But between the 2 thrones, someone had placed a 3rd chair. Smaller than the thrones but still elegant, upholstered in the same deep green as Celeste's dress. Isabella had noticed it too. Her hand tightened on Celeste's arm. He had a 3rd chair made. In less than a day. Do you understand what that means? No. It means he's not just claiming you as a second mate. He's claiming you as equal. As someone worthy of sitting beside us, not behind or below. Celeste, that's an enormous statement of respect and protection. Some of these vampires are going to lose their minds. They approached the platform together. The assembled court fell silent, hundreds of crimson eyes tracking their movement. Nathan stood as they reached him, and the gesture, a vampire king standing for arrivals, sent ripples of shock through the crowd. My court, Nathan's voice carried absolute authority. May I present Celeste Morrison, my second mate, and her daughter, my ward, who will be born in the coming weeks. Under the ancient laws and with the consent of my first mate, I have claimed them both. They are under my protection, bearing my name, and entitled to all rights and privileges thereof. He offered Celeste his hand, helping her onto the platform and guiding her to the green chair between the thrones. Isabella took her own throne, and suddenly Celeste sat between 2 of the most powerful vampires in North America, facing a court that looked ready to explode with questions. Your Majesty, a male vampire in an expensive suit stood, his voice dripping with skepticism. Forgive my bluntness, but this is highly irregular. Second mates require justification under our laws. What possible danger requires you to claim a pregnant human? Vampire hunters, Nathan said coldly. Rogue vampires who murdered the baby's father and are hunting Celeste to eliminate the hybrid child she carries. They have been tracking her across my territory for 3 weeks. That constitutes mortal danger requiring royal protection. Then give her sanctuary as a refugee, another vampire suggested. Why make bonding? Why this unprecedented elevation? Because I chose to, Nathan's voice dropped dangerously. Do I need more justification than that? I am your king. The ancient laws allow for second mates under specific circumstances. Those circumstances have been met. Queen Isabella has consented. The bonding is complete. Do you challenge my right to make this decision? No one spoke. Challenging a vampire king's decisions was borderline treason. But then a female vampire in red silk stood, her expression cunning. Your Majesty, forgive me, but we must consider appearances. You've taken a pregnant human as a second mate. Her child is a hybrid, illegal in most territories. Some might interpret this as the king growing soft toward humans. As losing his edge. How do we assure our neighboring territories that you remain strong, capable, uncompromised by sentiment? It was a political trap, and everyone knew it. Deny sentiment and he insulted Celeste. Admit sentiment and he appeared weak. Isabella stood, her power radiating outward. Lady Victoria, you question whether my husband has grown soft. You wonder if protecting an innocent woman and child indicates weakness. Her smile was sharp as broken glass. "Let me tell you what I see. I see a king powerful enough to offer sanctuary without fearing the political consequences. I see a man secure enough in his rule that he doesn't need to prove his strength by abandoning the vulnerable. I see 2 centuries of building an empire so strong that we can afford to show mercy." She moved to stand beside Nathan, presenting a united front. "And let me make something else absolutely clear. This isn't sentiment. This is strategic. Celeste carries a hybrid child, a child with vampire and human blood, belonging fully to neither world. If we raise her properly, she could become a bridge between our species. An ambassador. A symbol of what cooperation could achieve. That's not a weakness. That's the vision." The court murmured, some nodding thoughtfully, others still skeptical. Then Celeste felt it, a sharp, intense kick from her daughter, strong enough to make her gasp. And in that moment of gasping, she realized something. These vampires were debating her daughter like she was a political tool. A symbol. A strategy. But she wasn't. She was a baby. A life. A person who deserved to exist without justification. Celeste stood. The room went silent. "Your Majesty," she said to Nathan, "may I speak?" He looked surprised but nodded. "You may." Celeste turned to face the court, her hand resting on her pregnant belly. "My name is Celeste Morrison. 3 weeks ago, I watched the man I loved die trying to protect me from vampires who called our baby an abomination. I've spent every night since then running, hiding, terrified that my daughter would be killed before she ever took a breath. Last night, I had nowhere left to go. So I came here, to these gates, and I begged." Her voice strengthened. "I begged King Nathan to save my baby. Not because she's a political tool or a bridge between species or a symbol of anything. Because she's my daughter. Because she kicks when I sing to her. Because she deserves a chance to live. That's all I wanted, just a chance." She looked at Isabella, then Nathan. "I don't understand vampire politics. I don't know the ancient laws or court protocols or what's unprecedented and what's not. But I understand that these 2 people," she gestured to the king and queen, "looked at a desperate stranger and saw something worth saving. Not for politics. Not for strategy. Because it was right." Celeste's eyes swept across the assembled vampires. "So if you're questioning the king's strength, if you're worried this makes him appear weak, let me tell you something. It takes more strength to show mercy than cruelty. More courage to protect the vulnerable than abandon them. More power to risk scandal for what's right than to hide behind tradition for what's easy. Your king isn't weak. He's exactly what a king should be." She sat down, her heart pounding, only then realizing she'd just lectured a room full of predators on morality. The silence stretched. Then Isabella started clapping. Slow, deliberate applause that echoed through the chamber. Nathan joined her, and gradually, reluctantly, some of the court joined in. Not all, some vampires looked furious at being schooled by a human, but enough. Enough to matter. "Well said," Nathan murmured to Celeste. "Though perhaps in the future, warn me before you decide to address my entire court." "Sorry. I wasn't thinking." "No, you were feeling. That's rarer and more valuable." His hand briefly covered hers. "Thank you." The court session continued for hours, discussions of territory borders, trade agreements, disputes between vampire families. Celeste listened, learning the dynamics, identifying allies and enemies. Lady Victoria, the vampire in red silk, kept shooting her venomous looks. But others, particularly younger vampires, those turned within the last century, watched her with something like hope. Finally, as midnight approached, Nathan dismissed the court. Vampires filed out in groups, still whispering, still processing the evening's revelations. Isabella touched Celeste's shoulder. You did well tonight. Very well. You made them see you as a person, not just a scandal. That's exactly what we needed. I just told the truth. Yes. And truth has power, especially in a court used to political maneuvering. Isabella smiled. Come. You must be exhausted. Let's get you back to your room. They were halfway across the ballroom when Celeste felt it, a sharp, cramping pain low in her abdomen. She gasped, doubling over, one hand clutching her stomach. Celeste? Isabella was at her side instantly. What's wrong? Pain. Cramping. It's another wave hit, stronger this time. Oh God, something's wrong with the baby. Nathan. Isabella's voice cracked like a whip. The king was there in seconds, his expression transforming from composed ruler to terrified father. Get Dr. Chen. Now, he ordered, then swept Celeste into his arms. Hold on. Just hold on. You're going to be fine. The baby's going to be fine. But as he carried her through corridors at supernatural speed, as Isabella ran ahead calling for the doctor, as pain lanced through Celeste's body in waves that threatened to break her, she couldn't help but think. They'd survived the court. They'd won political acceptance. They'd done everything right. But none of that mattered if her daughter didn't survive the night. Dr. Chen met them in Celeste's room, her medical bag already open. Lay her on the bed. What happened? Cramping. Sudden and severe. Isabella hovered beside the bed, her usual composure cracking. Is it labor? It's too early, she's only 8 months. Let me examine her. Dr. Chen's hands moved with professional efficiency, checking Celeste's vitals, palpating her stomach, listening with the special stethoscope. Her expression remained neutral, which somehow made everything worse. The pain came in waves, not constant, but regular. Every few minutes, Celeste would feel her stomach tighten, cramping so intensely she could barely breathe. It's not labor, Dr. Chen said finally. The baby hasn't dropped, the cervix isn't dilated, and the contractions, if that's what these are, aren't following a labor pattern. Then what is it? Nathan demanded. I believe the baby is reacting to stress. Hybrid pregnancies are uniquely sensitive to the mother's emotional state. Tonight's court session, the stress of presentation, the fear and anxiety, all of that transmitted to the baby. She's essentially throwing a tantrum. Expressing distress the only way she can. A tantrum. Isabella's voice rose. My daughter, she stopped, corrected herself. Celeste's daughter is in distress because we put her mother through a political ordeal. Essentially, yes. Dr. Chen turned to Celeste. Your daughter is strong. Very strong for a hybrid. But that strength means she's more reactive, more aware than a typical fetus would be at this stage. She knows you were afraid tonight. She knew there was danger. And she's responding. Another wave of pain hit. Celeste gritted her teeth, riding it out. When she could speak again, her voice was hoarse. How do I make it stop? How do I tell her we're safe? Physical contact helps. Skin to skin, if possible. And voices, familiar voices that represent safety. Dr. Chen looked at Nathan and Isabella. You two need to reassure the baby. Place your hands on Celeste's stomach and talk to her. Let her feel your presence, hear your voices. Make her understand she's protected. You want us to talk to an unborn baby? Nathan looked uncertain in a way Celeste had never seen. I want you to bond with your ward, Dr. Chen corrected gently. She's part of your family now. Act like it. Isabella moved first, sitting on the edge of the bed and placing both hands on Celeste's swollen belly. Hello, little one, she said softly. My name is Isabella. You don't know me yet, but I promise you're safe. Your mother is safe. We're all safe here. No one will hurt you. I won't let them. The baby kicked hard right where Isabella's hands rested. Isabella's breath caught. She responded. She knows I'm talking to her. Hybrids develop awareness early, Dr. Chen confirmed. She's listening. Nathan knelt on the other side of the bed, his large hand joining Isabella's on Celeste's stomach. I'm Nathan. Your mother calls me the king, but you can call me whatever you'd like when you're born. Maybe just Nathan. Or if you're feeling formal, Uncle Nathan has a nice ring to it. His voice grew rough with emotion. I lost a daughter once. A long time ago. I wasn't strong enough to save her. But I'm strong enough to save you. I promise you that. You're going to be born safe and healthy and so loved. The baby kicked again, and this time Celeste felt the cramping ease slightly. It's working, she whispered. Keep talking. Please. For the next hour, Nathan and Isabella took turns speaking to the unborn baby. They told her about the mansion, about the rose garden where they'd plant flowers in her honor. Isabella described the nursery they'd create, not pink, unless you want pink. Maybe green or purple, or we could paint a mural of stars across the ceiling so you always have light to guide you. Nathan told her about the world she'd be born into. It's complicated. Sometimes beautiful, sometimes harsh. There are vampires who will see you as different, humans who will fear what you are. But you'll have us. And we'll make sure you're strong enough, smart enough, loved enough to handle all of it. Gradually, the cramping subsided. The baby's movements became less frantic, more the gentle kicks and rolls Celeste had grown accustomed to. And watching these two ancient, powerful vampires tenderly speaking to her unborn child, Celeste felt something shift in her chest. This wasn't just a political sanctuary anymore. This wasn't just a transaction, protection in exchange for scandal and complication. This was becoming a family. She's settling, Dr. Chen observed. Heart rate normalizing. The crisis is passing. She stood, packing her equipment. But Celeste, you need to understand, this could happen again. Your stress becomes her stress. For the next few weeks, until she's born, you need to minimize anxiety, avoid political events if possible, and spend time in calming environments. She'll have everything she needs, Isabella said firmly, her hand still resting on Celeste's belly. No more court sessions. No more presentations. She'll stay in the family wing, surrounded by people who care about her, until the baby comes. I can't just hide, Celeste protested weakly. What about? What about nothing? Nathan interrupted. Your only job right now is keeping yourself and this baby healthy. Everything else, politics, court, public opinion, can wait. Dr. Chen left with final instructions about rest and nutrition. Nathan and Isabella remained, neither moving from their positions flanking Celeste's bed, hands still on her stomach as if they could protect the baby through sheer will. Thank you, Celeste said quietly. Both of you. For everything. Don't thank us yet, Isabella murmured. We still have weeks to go before she's born. Plenty of time for everything to go wrong. All right, Nathan countered. Plenty of time for everything to go right. A comfortable silence settled. Celeste felt her daughter's movements growing drowsy, the kicks slowing to occasional gentle nudges. Can I ask you something? Celeste said. Your daughter, Lily Rose. What was she like? Before. Isabella's expression grew distant. I only had her for 7 months. Never got to meet her, hold her, hear her voice. But I felt her. She was active, always moving, especially at night. Nathan used to read to my stomach, poetry, history, anything, and she'd kick in rhythm to his voice. As if she was already learning, already listening. She would have been extraordinary, Nathan added. Strong-willed, like her mother. Intelligent, curious about everything. We'd planned to raise her in both worlds, vampire and human. I wanted her to understand both, appreciate both, and bridge the gap between them. That's what Isabella said about my daughter in court, Celeste realized. A bridge between species. Because it's what we wanted for Lily, Isabella admitted. And now we have a second chance to make that dream real. Not with our biological daughter, but with yours. If you'll let us. Celeste looked at them, this unlikely pair who'd become her protectors, her allies, her strange new family. I'd be honored. Isabella's eyes glistened with tears she refused to let fall. Then we need to discuss something important. Your daughter needs a name. I've been thinking about it, Celeste said. But I wanted to wait until she was born, until I could see her face. No, Nathan interrupted gently. Name her now. Give her an identity, a presence, something to hold on to. It helps. Trust me. Celeste thought about the last 3 weeks, running, hiding, fear. Thought about Ryan dying to protect them. Thought about last night's desperation at the gates. And thought about tonight, about 2 ancient vampires speaking love to a baby they'd never met, about a court that couldn't decide if she was a scandal or a miracle. Hope, she said. I want to name her Hope. Isabella's breath caught. Hope. Because that's what she represents. What she's given us. What she deserves to carry into the world. Celeste's hand covered Isabella's where it rested on her stomach. Hope Morrison Thorne. If that's okay. I thought maybe she could carry both names. Mine and yours. So she knows she belongs to all of us. Nathan's composure finally cracked. A single tear traced down his cheek, the first Celeste had seen from him. Hope Morrison Thorne. Our daughter. Our ward. Our bridge between worlds. Our hope, Isabella whispered. And there, in a bedroom overlooking Central Park, 3 adults bonded over an unborn child who kicked gently against their joined hands. A child who carried vampire blood and human blood, who'd been hunted and saved, who represented everything broken and everything possible between 2 species. Hope. The name settled over them like a blessing. 3 weeks passed in relative peace. Celeste spent her days in the mansion's family wing, reading in the library, walking through the rose garden, carefully avoiding the black roses that marked Lily's memorial, and allowing herself to simply be. No running. No fear. No looking over her shoulder. Isabella visited daily, sometimes multiple times. They'd talk about art. Isabella had centuries of knowledge about artists and movements, or about the baby. Isabella had purchased every book on hybrid pregnancies she could find, studying them with academic intensity. Did you know hybrid babies often show preferences for certain music while still in the womb? Isabella said one afternoon, settling onto the couch beside Celeste with yet another book. Apparently classical seems to calm them, but jazz makes them more active. Hope likes when I sing, Celeste offered. Nothing fancy, just lullabies my mom used to sing to me. Sing one now. Celeste felt self-conscious but obliged, humming Hush Little Baby. Hope immediately responded with kicks and rolls. Isabella watched with wonder. She's so active. So present. Nothing like a normal pregnancy. Is that concerning? I don't think so. I think she's just more aware, more responsive, more alive. Isabella's hand hovered over Celeste's stomach. May I? Of course. The moment Isabella's hand made contact, Hope kicked directly into her palm. Isabella laughed, a real, unguarded sound of pure joy. She knows me. After 3 weeks, she actually knows the difference between my touch and others. She spends more time with you than anyone except me, Celeste pointed out. You're here almost every day. I can't stay away. Every time I try to give you space, I find myself making excuses to check on you. Nathan thinks I'm becoming obsessive. Are you? Probably. Isabella didn't look bothered by the admission. But after 200 years of grief, I'm allowed some obsession over the chance to heal. Their peaceful routine shattered on a Tuesday evening. Celeste was in the library, reading a novel Isabella had recommended, when she heard shouting from downstairs. Raised voices, anger, the sound of something breaking. She stood awkwardly, her belly was enormous now, making movement challenging, and moved toward the door. Hannah, the day servant who'd become something like a friend, burst into the library. Miss Morrison, you need to stay here. Lock the door. Don't come out until someone comes for you. What's happening? Hunters. At the gates. They're demanding the king turn you over. Hannah's face was pale. Please, just lock the door. His Majesty's handling it, but... An explosion rocked the mansion. The windows rattled, and somewhere downstairs, glass shattered. They breached the wards, Hannah whispered, horrified. That's impossible. No one can breach the king's wards. Go, Celeste said, pushing Hannah toward the door. Get to safety. I'll be fine. Hannah fled. Celeste locked the door with shaking hands, then moved away from the windows. Hope was kicking frantically, sensing her fear. It's okay, baby. We're okay. She paused. What were Nathan and Isabella to Hope? Not parents, but not nothing either. Your family will protect us. More explosions. Shouting. The distinctive sound of vampires fighting, faster than human combat, more brutal, punctuated by supernatural power. The library door exploded inward. A vampire stood in the doorway, male, young-looking, with wild eyes and blood on his clothes. Found you. Celeste backed away, hands protectively over her stomach. Stay away from me. Can't do that. You're the mission. You and the abomination you're carrying. He moved into the room with predatory grace. 3 weeks you've been hiding in the king's protection. We've been planning this assault for 3 weeks. Cost us everything, alliances, resources, 3 vampires' lives breaking those wards. But it'll be worth it when we eliminate the hybrid. She's a baby. An innocent baby. She's an affront to our species. Hybrid babies are illegal for a reason. They're unstable, dangerous, capable of destroying the balance between vampires and humans. He lunged forward. Celeste grabbed the nearest thing, a heavy book, and threw it at him. It bounced off harmlessly. She turned to run, but pregnant and awkward, she had no chance of outrunning a vampire. His hand closed on her arm, yanking her backward. Nothing personal. Just following orders. Then he screamed. Isabella materialized from nowhere, her hand around the hunter's throat, lifting him off the ground like he weighed nothing. Her eyes blazed pure crimson, her fangs fully extended, her usually composed face twisted into a mask of primal fury. You dare touch her. Each word was punctuated by Isabella slamming the hunter against the wall hard enough to crack plaster. You dare enter my home. Threaten my family. Put your hands on my daughter's mother. Not your daughter, the hunter choked out. You're barren. Everyone knows. Isabella ripped his throat out. Blood sprayed across books and carpet. The hunter's body crumpled, lifeless, and Isabella stood over him breathing hard, covered in gore, looking more monster than the elegant Queen Celeste had come to know. Isabella, Celeste whispered. The vampire queen turned, and for a moment, Celeste saw the predator, ancient, deadly, capable of horrific violence. Then Isabella's expression shifted, softening, becoming almost human again. Are you hurt? Did he harm you? The baby? We're fine. Scared, but fine. Celeste's hand still covered her stomach protectively. Nathan appeared in the doorway, similarly covered in blood, 3 dead vampires trailing behind him like grim decorations. How many got through? This was the only one who made it to the family wing. Isabella kicked the corpse. The others. Dead. All of them. 8 hunters total. They must have pooled resources from multiple rogue covens to afford the magic needed to breach my wards. Nathan's expression was granite hard. This was coordinated. Planned. Someone gave them intelligence about the mansion's layout, our security protocols, and Celeste's location. A spy. Isabella's eyes narrowed. In our household? Or the court? Someone who attended the presentation, who saw where Celeste would be housed, who had access to information about our defenses. Nathan moved to Celeste, his hands gentle despite the violence he'd just committed. Are you certain you're unharmed? Yes. Isabella got here before he could. Celeste's voice broke. He was going to kill Hope. Kill us both. I won't let that happen. Isabella's voice was steel. Never again. No one touches this family. Nathan pulled out his phone, issuing rapid commands. Full security lockdown. Every vampire in this mansion gets re-vetted. Anyone who can't prove absolute loyalty gets expelled from the territory. And I want every rogue coven within 500 miles investigated. Someone funded this attack. I want to know who. In the chaos of securing the mansion, of cleaning up bodies and repairing damage, Celeste sat in the library feeling Hope kick frantically against her ribs. The baby was terrified. Celeste could feel it, that supernatural awareness Dr. Chen had mentioned. Hope knew they'd been in danger. Knew someone had tried to hurt them. Isabella returned, cleaned up but still wearing the same blood-stained dress. She sat beside Celeste and immediately placed her hands on Celeste's belly. Hope, it's Isabella. You're safe now. The bad people are gone. I killed them. Your mother's safe. You're safe. Nothing will hurt you while I'm here. The baby's frantic movements began to settle. She responds to your voice, Celeste observed. More than mine sometimes. Because she knows I'll protect her. That I'm capable of protection. Isabella's expression was bleak. I failed Lily. Couldn't save her when hunters came. But I won't fail Hope. I'll kill anyone who tries to harm her. Anyone. I know. I saw. Celeste touched Isabella's hand. Thank you. For saving us. Thank Nathan. He killed 6 of them single-handedly. I only got 2. I wasn't thanking you for the kill count. I was thanking you for being here. For caring enough to come running when we were in danger. Celeste's eyes filled with tears, pregnancy hormones making her emotional. I know this started as a way to heal from losing Lily. But Isabella, it's become more than that, hasn't it? You don't just see Hope as a second chance anymore. You see her as yours. Isabella was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was raw. Is that wrong? She's not my biological daughter. You're her mother. I have no claim beyond being Nathan's first mate. But Celeste, I love her. This tiny person I've never met, who kicks against my hands and responds to my voice. I love her like I loved Lily. Like she's mine to protect and cherish and raise. Is that wrong? No. Celeste's answer was immediate. It's not wrong. It's beautiful. Hope is lucky to have you. To have both of you. She hesitated. Can I tell you something? Something I've been thinking about. Anything. When Hope is born, when she's old enough to understand. I want her to call you and Nathan her parents. Not just guardians or protectors, but Mom and Dad. Because that's what you are. You're choosing her, loving her, willing to die for her. That's what makes you parents, not biology. Isabella's careful composure shattered. She pressed her face against Celeste's shoulder and wept, 2 centuries of grief and hope and love pouring out in great, shaking sobs. Nathan found them like that, his wife crying against their second mate, both women's hands covering the belly that held the daughter they were all willing to kill for. What happened? He asked urgently. Is something wrong? Everything's right, Isabella managed through tears. Everything's finally, impossibly right. He joined them on the couch, wrapping both women in his embrace. And they stayed that way, 3 people who'd found each other through desperation and need, who'd become a family through choice rather than blood, protecting an unborn child who represented hope itself. Outside, the mansion's security forces worked to fortify defenses and hunt for the spy who'd betrayed them. Political alliances shifted as word spread of the attack. The vampire world watched and waited to see what the king would do. But inside the library, none of that mattered. All that mattered was that Hope was safe. And the family that had formed around her was willing to burn the world down to keep her that way. Chapter 5: The Birth. For more weeks passed. Security around the mansion became absolute. Nathan hired additional guards, installed new magical wards that would alert him to any breach, and personally vetted every vampire who worked in or near the family wing. The spy was never found, which meant they either fled the territory or went dormant, waiting for another opportunity. Celeste didn't care about politics anymore. She cared about the baby, about the family she'd found, about the strange life she was building in the heart of vampire royalty. Isabella spent almost every night in Celeste's room now, reading to Hope, singing to her, telling her stories about the world she'd soon enter. Nathan joined when court business allowed, his deep voice describing vampire history and human achievements with equal reverence. You'll be the first of your kind, Nathan told Hope one evening, his hand resting on Celeste's stomach. Not fully vampire, not fully human, but something new. Something extraordinary. The world won't know what to make of you. But that's okay. You'll teach them. No pressure, Celeste teased. None at all, Nathan agreed with a slight smile. She can be whatever she wants. Doctor, artist, warrior, scholar. Or just Hope, Isabella interjected. Just herself, figuring it out as she goes. The contraction started on a Tuesday at 3 a.m. Celeste woke to pain, different from the cramping weeks ago, more purposeful, more rhythmic. She lay still for a moment, timing them. 5 minutes apart. Regular. Strong. Oh, she breathed. Oh, this is it. She pressed the call button by her bed. Within 30 seconds, Hannah appeared. Miss Morrison? Labor. Real labor this time. Get Dr. Chen. And get their majesties. Hannah fled. Celeste focused on breathing through the next contraction. This was happening. After 9 months of fear and running and desperate hope, her daughter was coming. Dr. Chen arrived first, professional and prepared. She set up monitoring equipment, checked Celeste's dilation, and nodded with satisfaction. For centimeters. Labor's progressing normally for a hybrid birth. How's your pain tolerance? I've been homeless and chased by vampires. I can handle pain. Good attitude, but you're still getting an epidural option if you want one. Isabella burst through the door in a silk robe, her hair disheveled, eyes wide with panic and excitement. Is she? Are you? Is it happening? It's happening, Celeste confirmed through gritted teeth as another contraction hit. Nathan arrived more composed, but his hand shook slightly as he moved to Celeste's bedside. What do you need? How can we help? Just be here. Both of you. Please. They were. For the next 8 hours, as labor progressed and contractions intensified, Nathan and Isabella never left. Isabella held Celeste's hand through contractions, counting breaths, murmuring encouragement. Nathan read poetry between contractions, Rumi, Mary Oliver, Pablo Neruda, filling the room with beautiful words to distract from pain. This is different from before, Isabella murmured during a quiet moment. When I was in labor with Lily, I was alone. Nathan was fighting hunters. I was in a safe house with only a midwife. I was terrified. But this feels right. Like how it should be. You're not alone this time, Celeste managed. None of us are. At noon, Dr. Chen checked Celeste's progress. 10 centimeters. Fully dilated. Time to push. Fear crashed over Celeste. Wait, I'm not ready. What if something goes wrong? Nothing will go wrong, Nathan said firmly. You're strong. Hope is strong. We're all here. You can do this. And if you can't, we'll help you, Isabella added. That's what family does. The pushing phase was brutal. Celeste had read about labor, watched videos, and thought she was prepared. She wasn't. Nothing prepared you for the reality of bringing life into the world, the pain, the pressure, the primal intensity of it. But every time she wanted to give up and wanted to say she couldn't do it, Isabella was there. One more push. Just one more. You're almost there. I can see her head. She has dark hair, Celeste, beautiful dark hair. And Nathan, holding her other hand so tightly she worried about breaking bones. You're the strongest person I've ever met. Human or vampire. You survived everything the world threw at you. You can survive this. Bring our daughter into the world. One final push. One final scream. And then a baby's cry. Sharp, angry, demanding attention. She's here, Dr. Chen announced, lifting a tiny, perfect creature covered in vernix and blood. Hope Morrison Thorne, born at 12:47 p.m., 7 pounds 3 ounces, and extremely vocal about her arrival. They placed Hope on Celeste's chest, skin to skin, the baby's cries calming instantly at the contact with her mother. Celeste stared at her daughter in wonder. Tiny, perfect, with a scrunched-up face and dark hair plastered to her skull and eyes that, when they briefly opened, showed a color somewhere between human brown and vampire crimson. "Hi, baby," Celeste whispered through tears. "Hi, Hope. I'm your mom. We've been waiting so long to meet you." Hope made a small sound, not quite a cry, more like a grunt, and one tiny hand wrapped around Celeste's finger with surprising strength. "She's perfect," Isabella breathed, leaning close to see. "Absolutely perfect." Nathan's face showed naked emotion, joy, relief, grief for the daughter he'd lost, gratitude for the one now here. "Welcome to the world, Hope. We're so glad you're finally here." Dr. Chen worked efficiently, cutting the cord, cleaning Hope gently, doing newborn assessments. She's healthy. Strong heartbeat, good respiration, excellent reflexes. Her hybrid nature is already apparent, see the way her eyes track movement. That's advanced for a newborn. And her grip strength is notable. "Is that normal?" Celeste asked. "For a hybrid? There's no normal. But it's not concerning. She's just enhanced. The vampire genetics giving her advantages without compromising her human foundation." Dr. Chen wrapped Hope in a soft blanket and returned her to Celeste. "Now, there's the matter of feeding. She'll need both human milk and vampire blood to thrive. Usually we wait a few days before introducing blood, but..." Hope started crying. Not the normal infant cry, but something more desperate, more pained. What's wrong? Celeste tried to comfort her, but Hope's cries intensified. She's hungry, Dr. Chen said. And not just for milk. Hybrids often need blood immediately after birth. Their metabolism is accelerated. Isabella was already at the bedside, rolling up her sleeve. Use mine. Please. Dr. Chen produced a small vial, taking a few drops of blood from Isabella's wrist. She mixed it with a tiny amount of water to dilute it, then offered the mixture to Hope via a special dropper. The moment the diluted blood touched Hope's lips, she quieted. She drank greedily, her tiny body relaxing, her cries subsiding into contented sounds. She's bonding with you, Dr. Chen observed. Not just nutritionally but magically. Hope will always associate Isabella's blood with safety and comfort. It's creating a supernatural connection between them. Isabella's eyes filled with tears. Like mother and daughter. Exactly like that, Dr. Chen confirmed. They spent the next hour in wonder, taking turns holding Hope, marveling at her tiny fingers and toes, the way she responded to their voices, the shocking strength in her grip. When Hannah brought a camera to document the moment, they posed together, Celeste in the bed holding Hope, Nathan and Isabella on either side, all three adults looking at the baby with identical expressions of awe and love. She looks like you, Nathan said to Celeste. Same nose, same chin. But she has Ryan's eyes, Celeste replied softly. Or she will, when they settle. That amber-brown color. She has all of us, Isabella corrected. Your features, Ryan's eyes, Nathan's protection, my blood. She's made of love from all directions. As evening fell and exhaustion claimed Celeste, Isabella took Hope to the nursery they prepared, painted in soft greens and golds, filled with the finest furniture and endless stuffed animals. Nathan stayed with Celeste, sitting in the chair beside her bed like a guardian. Thank you, he said quietly. For trusting us with her. For letting us be part of this. Thank you for saving us, Celeste replied. Both of us. You gave Hope life when the world wanted her dead. No. You gave her life. We just provided the circumstances for that life to flourish. He paused. Isabella wants to ask you something. She's been working up the courage for weeks. What is it? She wants to formally adopt Hope. Make her legally ours as well as yours. It would mean Hope would have 3 parents, you, me, and Isabella. She'd be heir to our estate, our titles, our protection forever. But that's a lot to ask. If you want to say no. Yes. Nathan blinked. You don't want to think about it. I don't need to. You two are her parents as much as I am. More, in some ways, you'll live long enough to guide her through centuries while I'll only have decades. Hope should be yours legally. Officially. Completely. Celeste smiled through exhaustion. Tell Isabella to draw up the papers. I'll sign them tomorrow. You're giving us an extraordinary gift. No. You gave me one. A family. A home. A future. I'm just returning the favor. That night, while Celeste slept and Hope rested in her beautiful nursery, Nathan and Isabella stood before the crib watching their daughter, their impossible, perfect, miraculous daughter, sleep. We did it, Isabella whispered. We saved her. She's here, she's healthy, she's ours. We did it, Nathan agreed. After 200 years of grief, we finally did something right. Hope stirred in her sleep, making small sounds, her tiny hands curling and uncurling. She would grow up in a world of vampires and humans, belonging fully to neither, accepted completely by both. She would have 3 parents who loved her unconditionally, a mansion full of people sworn to protect her, and a future limited only by her own choices. She was Hope Morrison Thorne. Bridge between worlds. Daughter of 3. Miracle born of desperation and love. And she was home. The Manhattan Vampire Court had never seen anything like it. Hope Morrison Thorne's presentation ceremony drew vampires from across North America, all curious to see the hybrid child who'd caused such scandal. She was 6 months old now, sitting on Isabella's lap like a tiny queen, her amber-brown eyes tracking everything with uncanny awareness. "Ladies and gentlemen of the court," Nathan announced from his throne, "may I present my ward and daughter, Hope Morrison Thorne. As of today, she is formally adopted into the Thorne bloodline and recognized as heir to all our holdings and titles." Some vampires applauded. Others looked scandalized. But no one challenged it. Not after what happened to the hunters who'd tried to harm her. Not after 6 months of seeing the king and queen transform from cold rulers to devoted parents. Hope babbled something, not quite words, but close, and reached for a vampire noble's necklace with grabbing hands. "She's beautiful," Lady Victoria admitted grudgingly. The vampire who'd questioned Nathan's strength now watched Hope with reluctant admiration. "Strong too. I can feel her power from here." "She gets that from her mothers," Nathan said proudly, gesturing to where Celeste sat beside Isabella. The two women had become inseparable, sisters, co-parents, best friends. They shared Hope's care effortlessly, tag-teaming feedings and diaper changes and sleepless nights. After the ceremony, they retreated to the family wing. Hope needed a nap, and Celeste was still recovering from a cold, human illnesses that Hope seemed mysteriously immune to despite her half-human heritage. "She did so well," Isabella cooed, settling Hope into her crib. "Barely cried at all, even with all those vampires staring." "She's not afraid of vampires," Celeste said. "She grew up surrounded by them. To her, you're all just normal." "Normal," Nathan repeated with a laugh. "If only she knew how abnormal all this is." "She will eventually," Isabella said, "and we'll explain it to her. How her mother was desperate and brave, how her fathers died protecting her, how we came together to save her. She deserves to know her story." "Our story," Celeste corrected. "It's all of ours now." They stood together watching Hope sleep, three parents who'd found each other through impossible circumstances, who'd built a family from desperation and choice, who'd proven that love had nothing to do with biology and everything to do with showing up. Hope stirred, making the small sounds that meant she'd wake soon. Isabella bent to pick her up, and Hope's eyes opened, those beautiful amber-brown eyes that held both human warmth and vampire intensity. "Mama," Hope said clearly. Her first word. She'd been babbling for weeks, but this was distinct, purposeful. Isabella froze, tears streaming down her face. "She called me Mama." "She did," Celeste confirmed, her own eyes misty. "Because that's what you are." Hope reached for Nathan next. "Dada." "Yes," Nathan said roughly, taking his daughter into his arms. "Yes, sweetheart, I'm Dada." Then Hope looked at Celeste and smiled, a big, gummy, 6-month-old smile, and said, "Mama." "Two mamas and a Dada," Celeste said through happy tears. "That's us. That's our family." And in that moment, surrounded by more love than any of them had believed possible 6 months ago, they knew the truth. Families weren't defined by blood or tradition or what society expected. Families were defined by choice. By showing up. By loving fiercely and protecting absolutely. They were a family. Strange, unconventional, miraculous. But theirs. And that was everything. What an incredible journey from desperate plea to perfect family. From the gates where a homeless woman begged for mercy to a nursery filled with love and hope, this is what happens when compassion wins over tradition. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button and subscribe for more emotional vampire tales. Drop a comment telling me, would you have had the courage to beg at those gates? Or would you have run? Your answer might surprise you. Until next time, may you always find family in unexpected places, and may always hope to find a way to survive. See you in the next story.